Hi, I'm Jose Domingo Cruz. I'm your teacher for this course, and I wanted in this video to give you a little bit more of an explanation about what walking videos are all about. You have probably seen that in our website that I've already given you examples of what walking videos should be. If you look a little bit further, you can see not information about the class, but information about how to make walking videos. So you should watch that. But in this video, okay, which is going to be one of the first videos that you're going to see, I want to tell you why I chose this style of assignment. A lot of teachers will give you presentations, and a lot of you have probably done presentations before, especially if you're one of my second-year students. But I wanted to tell you why I thought of this. Well, number one, in 2020, when we weren't allowed to really go on campus and be in our classrooms and meet each other, it was very difficult to set up presentations. All you as in, you, the students, were mostly able to do was stay at home. And I thought, what could you do that's kind of like a presentation, but you can do at home? Well, you can use your cell phone. And then I had another idea, which is that it might be more difficult and could probably teach you more about learning to work without notes and without memorization. If I asked you to be able to walk while you do your talk, these walking videos are about 2 to 3 minutes in length, and to be able to walk at a normal pace while you hold your phone out to the side like this and you try to talk with it and you try to do your gestures, is actually quite difficult, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it. So those are some of the points that make them different, but let's look at specifically what I want to say. So they're more difficult than a regular presentation. A regular presentation, you've seen them before. One of you gets up on the stage with your computer, you put your computer to the projector, and you often, you just read something. And I gotta say, that's not really very good. Now, if I went to a presentation, okay, and I go to a lot of presentations. I give a lot of presentations. And if the presenter was to actually sit there and just read their presentation off a piece of paper like this, I would not be very impressed, because this takes absolutely no skill. No skill at all. Reading from a piece of paper, yeah, you can do that. Anybody can do that. Okay? But presentation is not about language. Just because you can read English doesn't mean that you're a good presenter. And even though, you're thinking, yes, but if I write it down, then I can make sure that I cover all the points that I want, that's not what a presentation is all about. A presentation is an appeal to the audience as much as it is being able to provide information. So a walking video, number one, I'm going to say it many times, don't use notes, don't memorize. Okay. Instead, what you should be doing is learning to walk and talk at the same time without anything but your camera and your own English skills that are in your head. Okay. And it requires the most important presentation skills. Being able to use eye contact, being able to use your gestures well, remembering everything that you want to say, making sure that your voice is strong, making sure that you do your gestures. These are really, really important presentation skills. And if you don't have them in a regular presentation, you're going to be finding it very difficult to do a walking video. A walking video is more difficult than a regular presentation. Let's look at these in a little bit more detail. When I say no notes, no memorization, that means that you're going to make mistakes. Now, a lot of your teachers in the past have told you before, no mistakes. Don't make any mistakes. Your pronunciation must be perfect. Your content must be perfect. And I got to tell you, nobody can do that. Okay? Not unless you're Steve Jobs and you can practice for 3 hours a day for 2 weeks every day. If you can do that, that's great, but not many people can do that. Most people are like you and me. They're very busy. They have to prepare the presentation, and they're lucky they'll get a couple of hours to practice it before they actually have to give it. You have to learn to be able to compensate for the fact that you cannot memorize this whole speech. Some of my presentations are about 70 minutes, 80 minutes long in the talking, and 10 minutes more for questions. I can't memorize an 80-minute speech. Not even Steve Jobs actually did a 90-minute or a 70-minute speech. His speeches are about 30 minutes. And like I said, he had a long time to practice. So don't be afraid of mistakes. If you make a mistake like, I wanted to say, oh yes, I remember now. Or you skip a part and you come back to it later. That's part of good presentation skill, because that happens all the time, and you have to learn how to be able to go over those mistakes. You can move along. Natural speech is the best for presentations. Like I said, if you try to take a piece of paper and say that you just want to read the piece of paper, this is going to make me very bored and want to leave your presentation. This has no energy or life in it, and you are just reading from your notes. That's horrible. I'm going to leave that presentation in about 3 minutes, and I have done that before. I went to a presentation. I thought it was going to be a really good presentation. It sounded like good content, and I found out the presenter was just reading their notes. I left because I did not want to hear that voice. Or if you just memorize it, if you just memorize the presentation, you have seen presentations like this before where the person is just trying to remember what they said. And it sounds very, very bad because they have no energy or emotion in their voice. Don't want to listen to that either. Okay? Instead, even with mistakes, the way that you speak naturally, the way you do in a conversation, the way that you do when you tell a story, okay, that is the best way for you to speak when you do a presentation. Think of this as a way for you to tell a story, a long story, but a story with a beginning, a middle, a funny part, a sad part maybe, and an end. And yes, it'll take a while, but just like I'm using my presentation right now, you can use your presentation sort of as notes. But when you hold notes in your hand and you're constantly looking at your notes and you're not looking at your audience, that's what's going to make a bad presentation. But when you do this, and you do this with your phone, you learn how to keep your eye on your phone because you have to maintain eye contact. Learning to maintain eye contact is something that you need for any presentation, but it's especially hard to do in a walking video. The whole idea of walking while you're talking is something that's hard to do. So be careful, okay? Watch where you're going, but walk at a normal pace. Don't walk so slowly that I notice that nothing is changing behind you. I can tell how quickly you're walking, okay? Watch where you're going, okay? And as you're walking, okay, your eyes, your smile, your voice, your gestures, you're going to see that those are the main parts of the things that I'm actually grading. It's not so much the content of your English or the content of your research. That's important when you get a real job. Right now, I'm trying to teach you presentation skills. The research skills, you can figure that out later. But here, we're going to be working on something that's much more difficult, your ability to actually give a presentation. Pay attention to how you hold your camera. If you don't hold your camera properly and you hold it down here, you're looking down at your audience. If you hold it and you're constantly shaking it, you're not paying attention to what you're actually seeing on the screen. Okay? You can't be like that. You have to hold this as if you're actually the director, the producer of a movie. You have to pay attention to all of these things. Your presentation skills are important in a regular presentation, and they're also important in a walking video. As I said before, watch your eyes, your smile, your voice, your gestures. All of these things are very important. Remember the flow of your presentation. Don't try to memorize every word in every sentence. Remember the flow. You think about it like you remember a movie and you're telling somebody about what you saw in the movie and you're telling them the story of the movie. Think about your content as images. And we're going to watch a video later on in the course where you learn how to remember the content of your presentation a lot better. But you think about everything as a bunch of images, and you think about these key images. They help you remember what's coming up next. And even though you're only talking to a camera, try to imagine there are people on the other side. Imagine your audience. Just like when you're in a real presentation, you always look at the whole audience from that corner to the back side, to the front, center, all of these things. You imagine your audience on the other side of the camera. In the end, let me give you some advice, although there's already lots of advice on my Moodle for all of this, okay? First, before we go to the advice, I also wanted to tell you a little bit about the grading system I'm going to use. So this is called the Walking Video Rubric. And if you look on our Moodle, the Walking Video Rubric is just underneath my sample walking video. If you look under there, you'll see the sample walking video rubric, and you click that, and you're going to see this document. And this document will show you that there are, on the left side, the general categories of what I want you to think about: your flow, fluency, and quality, your preparation, the style, that's what I was talking about with your eyes, your voice, your gestures, the content, okay, the production, which is holding the camera, making sure that it's aimed the right way, holding your arm out straight, all of these things. And you'll notice there is no category here for English quality. Honestly, English is something that you study separately. We are studying presentation in this class. We're studying presentation in English, but English is not the most important thing. It's a little bit here in content, okay? And a little bit with your fluency, because you have to be good at English to be able to speak fluently. Don't worry about that though. Like I said, it's okay to make your mistakes as long as you're looking at the camera, you've got a good strong voice, you're trying to make gestures, and you try to smile while you're speaking. So take a look at this document. You'll see what makes a really good presentation, what makes really poor presentation. You're going to be able to see it there. But in general, let me give you these pieces of advice, okay? Practice. Don't just put off your video until 2 hours before the deadline and you go, okay, I got to go make my video. And then you go out there and you make a bad video. Give it some time. Practice what you're going to say, okay? Get in front of your camera and then check the camera. Okay, take the video, watch the video before you send it. For all you know, you had your finger on the lens. For all you know, you put your hand right on the microphone and I can't see anything. For all you know, it was very windy outside and the wind made it impossible to hear you. Check your video before you submit it. And say that one more time. Check your video before you submit it, okay? Because when I get it, that means that you're very proud of this video and I'm going to mark it as if it's your best practice. Don't come to me later and say, oh, but Mr. Cruz, I didn't know that there was a lot of wind in the video. Well, that's your fault. You should have checked it before you sent it to me, okay? A lot of you think that your English isn't good enough. Your pronunciation is bad. Your grammar is bad. Your vocabulary is bad. So that's why you have to read notes. That's why you have to write a speech and then memorize it. No. Trust your English. Your English is fine. But you have to learn to trust it. Do the practice without notes. Do the video without notes. You can write some notes, but look at them, put them down, and then do the video. Trust your own English skill, okay? Remember, mistakes are okay. Don't make so many mistakes I don't understand you, okay? Quality is still important, but if you make a few mistakes here, watching you being able to take care of your mistakes in the middle of the video, that's pretty important stuff. Remember that this is a story. A good presentation has a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like a good movie, okay? Just like a song, just like a good book. All of these things are basically stories, and learning how to tell a story is the key to learning how to do a presentation. If you can do this presentation, if you can do this walking video, you can do any kind of presentation. So back to that grading system that I was talking about before. Okay, there were 5 parts to this, and as I said, flow, fluency, general quality, okay, preparation, right? Your style, as I was saying, that's how you look, that's how you try to appeal to the audience. The content, that maybe is connected to your English, but it's also connected to your thinking. Do you have good ideas? And then finally, how well you make the video. Check the video before you send it, okay? So that's why we're going to do walking videos in this class. And because even though some of you might already be in the classroom, some of you might not yet be in the classroom, these videos, I'm going to be using them even after we come back from the pandemic, because I think they're a really good way to practice presentation. If you have any questions, that's my email. Otherwise, I'll see you all in class. Thanks very much, everyone.